doing that today.
Jim, is Dale back there?
Is who?
Dale Clark?
Yeah, he's coming right now.
All right, maybe.
I was gonna let you go with it. Hey, look at that. All right. Hey, I don't like the position there.
This meeting is called to order. The invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Councilmember Jim Sutton.
Well, let's all stand up. I guess we can have a real nice prayer meeting here tonight with all of us. Let's bow our heads. Father, I thank you for the privilege of living in a city, in a county, in a state, and a nation that values and has values of liberty and justice and Christian charity. Thank you for that, Father. Thank you that each one of us get to participate in that. I just remember our soldiers overseas that are fighting on behalf of our nation's desire to bring peace to an area and to free up the many that are under the tyranny of a few. I pray that you'd grant their efforts with success, Lord. And I thank you also that we get to deliberate tonight, that we get to consider and make decisions. I pray you'd give us wisdom and understanding and an ability to listen to the issues that are at stake and that we might make good decisions. Thank you for each person that's here, and I pray you bless the inhabitants of our town, Haltom City. In your name, Jesus, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our announcements and events covered by Assistant City Manager Chuck Barnett. Chuck?
Mayor, City Council, ladies and gentlemen, deadline for the annual Images of Haltom City photo contest is this Saturday, March the 29th. For information about the contest, visit the city's website or call the Community Projects Office at 817-222-7767. Remember that the winners of this contest are the photos that we display on our annual calendar. I want to give congratulations to Donahue Mobile Tire Service right down the street as the Business of the Quarter for the first quarter of 2008. The Business of the Quarter Award presentation will take place at 1 p.m. Thursday, April 3rd at their store, which is located at 5161 Broadway Avenue. This is for all the seniors who are listening. On Friday, April the 4th, there will be a day-long SALT, S-A-L-T, which stands for Seniors and Law Enforcement Together, conference at the First United Methodist Church in Hurst. And this is an area-wide effort on everyone's part, so all the cities are participating in some manner. Seniors will learn about resources and methods for fighting crime and for keeping themselves safe. The activities will begin at 8 a.m. To register for this free conference, and I repeat, it is a free conference, which includes breakfast and lunch, call Officer Bill Hudgins, Hudgins, of the Colleyville Police Department. His phone number is 817-503-1231. And again, this is on Friday, April the 4th. Entries are now being accepted in the Haltom City Public Library's 8th Annual Texas Writers Contest. Categories include short story and poetry. For contest guidelines, contact the library at 817-222-7786. And it's that time of year for taxes. However, tax help is available from noon to 3 p.m. on Mondays at the Haltom Senior Center and on Thursdays at the Haltom City Public Library. Again, that's from noon to 3 each of those days. Help will be available through Monday, April the 14th. To schedule an appointment, call the Senior Center at 817-834-8021, or you can call the library at 817-222-7786. And I want to thank everyone because the response has been great, but please continue to contribute paper for recycling. This is a fundraiser for the purchase of children's furniture for the new Haltom City Public Library, to which I'll be making a presentation here briefly. Special bins are located at the Central Fire Station and between City Hall, at the back of City Hall, and our current library and the Senior Citizen Center. And with that, I want to give special recognition to Susan White, This has come a long way. This is our crossroads. This is our newsletter that we produce. If you recall, at one time we produced a city newsletter, and then we also had an economic development newsletter. We have now taken this in-house. We're doing all of our printing and doing all the layout in-house. And I want to thank Susan. This was sent to the mailers today to be mailed out and should go out the end of this week. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Any questions? Yes, okay. Appreciate that. First item on the agenda is the monthly financial report for February. Joel Welch will be bringing that. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you, Mayor. Enclosed in your packet for your consideration and review, of course, is the monthly financial report for the first 5 months of fiscal year 2008. I'm just going to make a few comments about matters that are of particular interest or of notice to me as I review the statements, and I'm going to turn this way. I want to face the council. I want to talk first of all about 2008 property taxes. And as such, we are pretty much on track with the property taxes. A couple of months ago I had indicated I had a little concern about collections earlier in the year, but they're right on track now. We're at about 90% of expected collections for the year, which is right about where we should be. Sales tax collections are better than I expected them to be at this point by just a hair, but we were a little aggressive in our estimation of sales tax for the year, but it has gone very well, and in fact we are slightly ahead of our expectation for the year, and this is a very good thing for the general fund, for the Economic Development Corporation, the Street Reconstruction Fund, and for the CCPD. I'm going to talk about the CCPD a little later. There's going to be a little challenge that we need to address there as we approach the midpoint of the year. I want to mention also something that concerned me a bit, and I guess it was just due to the weather last year, but the annual payment for right-of-way usage from the electric company did not make our budget target. We anticipated a check from them of about $1.4 million. We, in fact, wound up with a payment from them of about $1.29 million. And so that did surprise me a bit. I thought we'd been pretty careful and cautious in our estimations, but since that payment is based upon a factor times kilowatt hour consumption, it's just likely just due to the fact that there was just lower electrical usage last year. And so this is something that we're going to have to factor in our estimates for the balance of this fiscal year. As far as the water and sewer fund goes, we did talk about that, of course, in the workshop. I am legitimately concerned about the fact that sales have not rebounded as I expected them to. I didn't expect them to go back to the heady days of fiscal year 05 or fiscal year 06, but I did expect them to return to somewhat of a more normal level if you go back and factor in about 10 years of history. And as such, at this point, sales have not returned to that level yet. You may recall last month I was cautiously optimistic, and then the February sales came in and diminished my optimism. So sales are a bit on the deficient side at this point. We're going to be watching this very carefully. As we go forth in the year, they may still come around, but we are not going to be making any assumptions that they will come around to the extent of making us whole. We're going to have to take some action here to modify our operating expenses, to do what we can to offset the loss of sales and maintain the fiscal integrity of the water and sewer fund. So we're going to be watching this situation very closely, and of course it is of great benefit that we get to brief the council every month on this, so y'all can be aware of what's going on with that and aware of what the staff is doing to address the issue. As far as the other funds, the only other fund that I really want to mention something about at this point is the crime district. And we're going to have to probably do some study analysis and some potential decision making on the crime district. They started the year with a smaller fund balance than we expected. Sales tax collections over the last couple of months of last fiscal year had tailed off, so we were a little bit lower beginning the year than we thought we would be. And the projection for sales tax is close, but it's I'm projecting now that we may miss the target of the budget by about $40,000. And in a fund of $1.2 million, that's a good bit of money. So we're going to have to be very careful with the crime district from this midpoint of the year on through the rest of the fiscal year. As far as the other funds and operations of the city, the general fund does continue to look promising for this fiscal year. Expenditures are under control. And revenues, other than what I've mentioned, are pretty much in line. So the general fund's in pretty good shape. I'm projecting an ending fund balance there slightly better than what we have budgeted. We thought we might draw down by about $304,000. I'm projecting that the actual drawdown will be somewhat less, about $30,000 less. And we'll be watching that, of course, as we go through the fiscal year. And the other operating funds are pretty much tracking along like we expect them to. And, of course, there's more individualized information presented in your executive summary.
Thank you, Joel. Any questions? Mr. Hutchison.
A couple, Joel. On page 3, we talk about, you made some bullet points about the staff estimates of expenditures. One of you talked about the municipal court year-to-date costs are within budget parameters. The rapid increase in contract services. Would you explain that for a few?
Yes, sir, I will. As you have become accustomed with me, normally I'm looking at 5% variances, either 5% positive or greater or 5% negative or greater. In the case of the municipal court, even though they are within 0.5% of target, what I saw since the beginning of this year was a sudden jump in contract services. Contract services are for the services of the interpreter, the court reporter, and the prosecutor. And, of course, we've changed judges in that time, and as such, with the new judge, we're adjusting to new procedures. And at least in the short run, that's caused some cost patterns to change. Now, how permanent this is going to be, I don't know, but I thought it was fair to mention it as just one of those events that can occur. And we'll be watching it, of course, each month. In all reality, it should plane out. It should move to a normal level. It was just a matter of, I think it was just a matter of getting all the adjustments made to the new way the new judge operates. So,
sort of like an upfront expense when you get something new and you're putting it into place, and the cost of doing business, if you will, for having not only a new judge but having everybody adjust to his ways. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Yes, he schedules differently. He handles his court differently, and it's caused more work for the prosecutor.
Okay.
And that's one of the areas. But we have the interpreter in. We have a lot of hearings now where we have to have the interpreter come in to help. We actually have more than one interpreter. I'm thinking of the Spanish interpreter who does most of the work, but we also have an Asian interpreter as well.
Well, I believe that Judge Ojeski has mentioned that when we interviewed him, and then that was one of the things that he talked about when and convinced me that to hire him, because he did want to use some more interpreters. He wanted to make sure that they understood fully both the Asian and the Hispanic interpreter, so that people could understand what was going on in the courtroom. The second question I had was about the fire variance of 7%. You say it's troubling. Underestimation of sick leave payable. I'll get it. Sick leave payable. What are you talking about there?
Of course, each year as part of the budget process, there is an amount set aside for buying excess sick leave from employees, and that's usually done in December. and that is something that's in the charter. And as such, we have to make an estimate of what we believe that cost is going to be. In the case of the fire department, we apparently missed that target, and we missed it to the tune of close to $25,000.
And so what you're saying is that they didn't take as much sick leave as possible, and we're buying back more than what we thought.
Sir, I wish I could say that, but in fact, I think we just missed it.
Okay,
I think we just missed it.
okay,
And we're going to have to make some adjustments to work that out.
okay.
But we're not going to be, I don't see us coming back to the council to ask for additional appropriation to take care of this. I see this being taken care of within the general fund.
We basically didn't set aside enough money to do this, the buyback.
Okay.
And so when we actually did it, we realized we spent more than what we had. But
Okay.
that's what we were, by the policy and by what the charter requires, that's what we had to do. So there's a shortfall, basically. And what he's explaining to you is that we think the general fund will be able to take care of it
Will be able to
as the
take
year
care of it.
goes on. We're
Okay.
not going to be coming to asking you, we need an extra 25 grand.
No, there won't be any mid-year, year-end adjustment asking
Okay,
for
yeah,
that.
But
that-
we are
It's
telling
going
you
to
that there
be,
was-
it's going to be
we did
absorbed
miss
in the
it.
general
Well,
fund.
that was going to lead to my next question. With taking both of those into consideration, what I talked about, the municipal court and this, and all of these into consideration, are we getting ready to come back and say, are we making a mid-year adjustment again?
Well, we always have those types of things, but as far as for the pay, that's nothing that we're going to be
Okay.
coming in and saying, we need this adjustment because of this.
Okay,
Yeah, in answer to your question, yes, sir, there's, as Tom said, there's always a mid-year adjustment. Most of the time, the mid-year adjustments are to capture grants and to deal with capital budgets. And what we're bringing in this time will be pretty much that. So it won't be involving any adjustment in the general fund.
okay.
But we wanted to be upfront with y'all and tell you.
Well, yeah,
This is
and I
something we do
appreciate
every
that.
year.
I'm just-
By budgeting these funds, as it relates to the fire department, that is something we missed. We did deal with it, we just didn't get it right.
We budgeted 44,000 and it came out 67,000. And we just misestimated it.
Okay,
But we will cover it within the general fund.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Sutton?
Well, Joel, in order for us to help our water fund balance, you're not recommending that people change out their low-rate water shower faucets with full-rate water shower faucets, are you?
Mr. Sutton, we are not going to be recommending to the citizens or to the businesses or anyone else that they go out and buy extra water just to save the city. No, sir, we're not. We're going to have to do just like our citizens. We're going to have to make ends meet. We're going to have to work that out.
By keeping the expenses down. That's great.
Yes, sir. And I mentioned in the executive summary that we had talked about the possibility last September of doing a mid-year rate adjustment if we thought that it was necessary or appropriate. And at this point, I am not recommending a mid-year adjustment.
I think that would
I'm
not be
recommending at this point that we try to handle the matter
right.
administratively.
Administratively.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
I wanted to say that, the second thing I wanted to say is the monthly investment report, that the acronyms, the abbreviations are in place. Thank you very much. It's much easier to interpret that chart. Thank you.
Oh, and may I also mention the fourth graph that you asked for in the back is
It's in
there.
there.
It's
Yes.
there.
Thank you for that, too.
You also asked me to do a survey of the of
Commercial.
of cities about commercial. I requested information from 12 of my fellow cities, and apparently my request was more than they could bear. I have yet to receive a single response.
I figured that it may take some time to gather that, but thank you for what you've
Yes, sir.
put in this report. It's great.
Any other questions for Joel? Mr. Hutchinson?
This may be for the city manager more. I looked at the unemployment stuff, and that was a little alarming, losing that many jobs in the city. Is that mostly due to attrition, or is that, I haven't heard of any businesses closing in the city or anything like that.
Well, you're going to, closing openings, there's going to be that when you're a community like ours that does focus on small business. So you're going to have that from time to time. And it's been there all this time. It's just that the negative numbers is following what things are going on a nationwide basis as far as are we going to be having a recession or not? Are they reacting to what they're hearing in the paper? Are they reacting to election rhetoric or whatnot? And there's probably a yes to a degree on all fronts. I'm not willing to say that it's anything we need to be alarmed about or concerned about, because recession, prosperity, all that stuff in the cycle, it is all cyclical. You have to have it in a society like ours, in the capitalistic society. You're going to have those types of times. It's not everything is going to be prosperous the entire time. You're going to have those downturns. You have to have them.
And I guess that's what I wanted to hear. It's not just economic factors, it's social and political factors as well as economic factors at the same time.
The national limelight right now is affecting everybody, even a community like ours. It does affect it, and it will affect it for the next 9 months, at least.
Okay.
It will affect it.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Branson?
Thank you. The unemployment rates, Joel, is that for the citizens that live in Haltom City, or is this based on Haltom City businesses? I interpreted this as the unemployment rate for everyone living in Haltom City, not just for our businesses.
These are for businesses reporting in Haltom City.
So when it says total labor force, there's 21,000 individuals employed in Haltom City. On here,
Approximately, yes.
okay. Because you could also, based off our population, also make that the number of individuals that are employed that don't necessarily work here, too.
Yeah, there's about 1,400 businesses in town.
Okay. Well, I'd been interpreting it as the citizen unemployment
Right. No,
rate,
it's the business community is what that
but not the
what that
business
is.
community.
Right.
That's good to know. I mean, not the rate's good to know, but it's good to know how to
Yeah.
interpret it now.
All right, any other questions for Joel? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Mr. Bono?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that we approve the February financials as reported.
Mr. Hutchison?
That's for a second, Mr. Mayor.
Been moved and seconded to approve the monthly financial report. Any further discussion? Please register your vote. That is unanimous approved. Next on the agenda is the capital improvement status report. David,
Good
Mr.
evening,
Fain?
Mayor, members of the council. Your CIP report for the month of March. Not much change. We've added one project, but briefly go over those and then answer any questions that you had, and also included in the presentation, Mr. Barnett will update you on the progress of the library. With that said, we'll start off with the reconstruction of Woods Lane. This contract was awarded in September of last year. This is one of our CDBG projects. It's moving along rather well. We're about 35% completed with this particular project. The next project to update you on is also a CDBG project. It's reconstruction of Dana Drive from Denton Highway to the dead end. The council awarded an engineering services contract to Teagnall and Perkins in September of last year, and the engineering services contract is about 80% complete. We're presently reconstructing Beverly Drive from Webster to Vicky. It was a real big mess last week, as you know, with all the rain. Had a few vehicles, including city vehicles, stuck in the mud on this particular location. But the council did award this contract in November of last year, and we're about 35% complete with this project. Next project to give you an update on is the council did award an engineering services contract in January of this year to Teagnall and Perkins to design the reconstruction of Jean Lane from Broadway to Stanley Keller, and the engineering is about 10% complete. One project that we did add in January also was awarding an engineering contract to Freeze and Nichols to we are looking at repairing the Glenview and the Broadway bridges, as I've updated the council before, with the floods of June of last year, there was considerable damage done to both of these bridges, and we've hired Friesen Nichols to do the engineering for this particular project, and we're about 10% complete with that project. Water and sewer, we are looking at repairing and reconditioning of the Wall Street overhead water storage tank, and the council did hire Tignall and Perkins to be the engineer on this project in November of last year, and we're about 10% complete with the engineering on this. Also, we're looking at updating our pump stations. As I've mentioned to the council in the past, our pump stations, we feel like it's very outdated. The mechanical and electrical is very outdated. We're just trying to provide a more efficient means of providing our customers with water. Of course, efficient would also be a decrease in electrical cost to run these particular pump stations. And the council did award a contract to Tignall and Perkins in February of this year, and we're about 10% complete with this particular project. The council, I know, is familiar with the Little Fossil Creek Improvement Project. We, the staff, came to the council in February of this year to recommend that you hire Half and Associates to represent the city in the purchase of the right-of-way. We are still working with Half to move forward with this project, and we hope to have some better update for you at the next CIP update in a couple of months. Really, it's kind of died, if you will. There's a lot of prep work that Half has to do to contact all the citizens that are involved with this project, a lot of mail outs and that type of thing. And with that, I think Mr. Barnett is going to present the library update.
Well, I'll tell you, when you go out to the site and the windows and the doors are all the way up in the last couple of weeks in the cold weather, it gets a little windy. As you probably remember, Mayor, once we did the...
I do remember.
It was a little cold.
Pretty nippy day.
Progress report, we continue to meet out there on a weekly basis. We've had some meetings that I had postponed going to bi-weekly. And we're trying to get all the glass and all the doors, and we're trying to also complete the masonry. Then when you have temperatures that drop, then one of the issues we have is because of the temperature for the concrete. As you can see, the fire sprinkler system has already been installed. We've already tested that. We've got 80% of the HVAC already completed with the ductwork and et cetera. This is a aerial photograph of what we have here, and I've got my little toy here, and I can use this now with this being, you like this, Bob? This is a little Haltom Road right there, and this is a little trailer that we meet in, and when you have a lot of mud and a lot of rain, there's not a good sidewalk that goes from this point to inside the building, so sometimes it gets a little bit messy. This is not the latest of what is going on. If you've been driving by and you've been looking at the facility, you know that we've got quite a bit that has been going on, and I'm going to kind of flip back a minute, going to what's happened with the current issues. As you recall, I told you that we had set up an agreement with Encore. We met with them. We've already signed those agreements. We've made those deposits. We're in the process right now of doing the trenching, where we're going to be doing the trenching so that TXU can come in. They can lay the conduit that'll go in, that'll attach to all the decorative lights that we have around the road. And then they'll be taking down the existing lights. So we're going to have this little transition period that we'll be doing that. And we also had the contract for the cabling. That is to do all the cabling within the building. We've already initiated that contract also. And I was hoping that the first part of this week that we'd be closing what I call closing the envelope, where I actually have the building enclosed. But if you look to where I'm talking about the current issues, where we're talking about the storefront and the windows and the doors, those should be completed this week. They're already on site. They got a little bit behind, but we should have what I'm calling enclosing the envelope complete this week. And they should also have the masonry work completed, which would be the majority, the rest of the brickwork. Right now, the major piece we have is on the east side. That needs to be completed. They've already completed everything on the west side. And the roofing's already been completed, and the exterior metal panels are currently being installed, which is going to be above the glass work. So what are we doing now as far as future issues? We've already met with the architect with F&S Partners that did the landscaping. I wanted to make sure we incorporated everything we were doing as far as the trees and the landscaping on site. And I'm going to jump back here just a minute. As far as the trees are concerned, I wanted to make sure we used all of the trees that we have and the plants at the tree farm. There's over 400 items that we have that are either the tree's been put in the ground or we have those in containers. And as you come along this area right here, which is going across the creek where you have the bridge, we'll have trees which will create over this area kind of a forest all the way up to the corner where you have Haltom Road intersecting with the railroad tracks, the UP. The other thing we're doing is we've gone ahead and we've identified what we currently had on our landscape plan. I was questioning some of the species we were using because I didn't want to have a lot of trash dropping from the trees onto the parking lot and the patrons trying to walk through that. There are several species you could have, such as a bur oak, which has a large nut on it, that I don't want to have those anywhere around the building itself or around the on the parking lot itself. So we're looking at some of those. I did identify what I call the knotless, which is this spiral area right here, which will have what's called a pond cypress. Those things grow to about 60 feet. After dealing with meeting with the architect, I then realized what he was trying to accomplish, because you keep raising the canopy, and it's not like a ball cypress, which is out like this. It's more narrow like this, so it almost looks like a cedar. But I think that's going to be a good amenity. So what I'm telling you right now is we're trying to put all the plants that we're not going to have in the tree farm that's going to be on the site, kind of bundle those together, get those bid packages together, and I'll get with Betty and we'll put those out and we'll be coming back to you for approval. Hopefully it's going to be under $25,000. I won't need your approval. Signage is another issue. Signage is the interior signage that we're looking at. I've got a meeting set up next week with the vendor for on the signage. I got to see what we can do to reduce that cost. The phone and computer installation. The computer installation is due on June 1st. I've already talked to Scott about that. As soon as they get all the cabling done within the closet, they'll be doing the installation of the computers, begin that installation, and the phones, which we were talking about tonight, those will be scheduled around July the 15th. The exterior work, we've done a contract right now with Allshaw to come in and give us a bid. I've taken the sidewalk right here so we have connectivity in this area right here. This is the end of the parking lot, and you have a large berm that goes here. What we're trying to do is connect this site over to McLean, and I've got the bids which are forthcoming this week from Allshaw on the construction of that concrete. The other thing we're looking at right now as far as the schedule, I have a project schedule that I showed Tom tonight. The target is July the 15th. With the building completion, we feel like we're on schedule. We'll be doing the site grading sometime in mid-April. At the point where we complete the site grading, then we'll come in, we'll start planting trees. We'll plant trees up in this area around the perimeter. I want to leave this area open right in here for outdoor activities, maybe soccer fields or a park setting, and etc. Again, we'll be planting trees along this area, along the berm. That'll be a sound barrier for the trains that come through. And then we'll be doing this area down in here, which I was talking about, creating some kind of forest with the sidewalk connecting all the way down to the railroad track into Haltom Road. I think it's going to be pretty neat because you're going to have this area over here before you get to the drainage creek. That's all going to be open. People driving along Haltom Road headed toward McLean are going to see it's just an open area. They'll be able to see the glass work of the library. Work. I killed it. They'll be able to see the glass work right here again. The idea of looking in with anybody that's in the library looking out. The same that'll be true in this area, which will be the children's area. As they're coming down this way, they'll be able to look in. The kids will be able to look out. The other thing we talked about was the establishment of the furniture. You did approve that at the last council meeting. That I was trying to develop a schedule for when the furniture would be delivered. That date is August the 1st. Again, I'm trying to balance now when the library is going to be completed. We're on target for the July 15th. We'll have to get movers. We'll have a contract for them to come in and start boxing up everything, get them moving ready. And then when I start moving in there, we got to get the stacks all ready first so we can start moving the books in. That's going to be the first thing we'll have to do. There's a lot of coordination of time, so you're going to see a lot of activities happening on the library right now, which are going to be the finishing. Right now, it looks like a pretty raw state, but this is going to progress very quickly. The other aspect we're discussing right now, and I'll have that meeting this week, will be the grand opening for the library. When are we going to have a grand opening? I'm looking at probably a soft opening and then a hard opening for the library. One will probably be a VIP opening somewhere in the week of September the 1st. And then on Saturday, I think that's the 5th. I think that's right. On Saturday the 5th, and we would have what we call the public open, and that'll be our hard opening to open the doors up for the public for them to enjoy the library. So that's a lot for me to cover right now, but we have a lot of activities that are going on right now in the interior. We did have some rain that did delay us a little bit, but we feel like we're on target. I'm almost out of breath. I'll answer any questions you have.
Any questions? Mr. Sutton?
Yeah, Chuck. One thing I didn't hear mentioned is when is, and maybe I missed it, but when is the concrete going to get down that connects the road with the parking lots, with the library, and everything else, so that you don't walk and get mud on your shoes?
There's two things.
Okay.
One is right now along. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, this area right along here, of course, we've already got within the current contract is for Allshaw to put in sidewalks right here and then all the way down.
Okay.
Okay. That will not be completed until we finish the trenching to put the cable
cables.
in and
Yeah.
the lights. And once we do that, we also got to pour the form bases for those lights. They're 12 to 14 feet high for these light standards.
Okay.
And those are going to be fiberglass. And we'll put those and we'll lay those down, then they'll come in and they'll do this. The drive approaches themselves will be one of the last things we do because we want to make sure we don't have any heavy machinery unloading anything that's going to be used on the site for the construction. We don't want to make sure the concrete is fully cured.
Oh, okay.
So in doing that, we want to make sure we don't have any cracking on that. And as far as the, evidently I'm not technically challenged here.
No, it looks like the battery, the battery looked like it was getting weak.
Be
Oh, there
quiet,
it is.
Bob. Again, what I mentioned to you is we're looking at a contract right now for this piece, for the sidewalk connecting. That is not part of the construction.
Right.
And in doing so, I'm looking at Allshaw to do that. I think we have some cost savings where they would come in and have their people do this piece and also do this piece.
Okay. So you're
So-
looking at maybe July,
Probably
August
June.
before
Probably June.
June? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Remember, our target date for completion for the keys to be handed over to the city is July the 15th.
Okay.
July the 15th. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to be ready to open it up on July 15th.
Right.
Because we got a lot of other things that are going to transpire. You got the computers
Right.
going in, you got the phone system,
You got to
finish up the cabling.
Books.
We have a walkthrough. Books? We're going to have books in this
We
building?
might.
We might have books.
How long do you anticipate the people that will not be able to have library services? Is that like a week long or 2 weeks?
We'll be closed for approximately 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Or we'll be
Easily.
without
But
town.
because of the reciprocal agreements that we have with the other area libraries.
Oh,
they
yeah.
can go to North Richland Hills, Watauga.
Right.
Will North
Fort
Richland
Worth.
Hills have theirs open by then?
They'll be opening next month.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Cabano?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chuck, can you go back to the aerial photo? Just a quick question. On the north side, where you have the open area right there, right there.
Yeah.
What's going in there? Just grass?
Mainly grass. The one of the things that, and of course I keep saying I'm looking at because I keep talking with our city engineer and with Allshaw. But the other thing I was trying to do is tie in a sidewalk that would come into here. Again, I'm looking at connectivity.
Right.
And I think it's kind of like the old Army saying, before you put in sidewalks, see where they're going to walk. Exactly. Well, I know they're going to walk from this edge right here, coming out of the neighborhood of Haltom Road, at the UP and Haltom Road, and they're going to walk straight in a direct route into the library. They're not going to walk all the way around this perimeter and then try to go in the front door.
Right,
They're not
and
gonna do that.
I
So-
just want to see, make sure that we're going to have an open
Yes.
area there for somebody who wants to read and go outside and do whatever they want to out
Yes,
there. Give them a nice big
there's
open
an
area.
emergency door here. There's also an ADA door that will have a sidewalk that goes around here. And again, that's for
Right.
emergency exit and also can be used for ADA. But the fire marshal's office required that we put a door in right here. That's not going to be one that's going to be open all the time because you got your books all in here and you don't want them running out the back door here.
Right.
Now, to kind of answer your question, I'm sorry, it's a long answer. We got approximately 8 to 10 foot drop from the top of the
Okay.
of the floor right here all the way to the top of the creek. So we're going to have to do some erosion control. So I'm really looking at basically a lot of grass in this area. I'm also looking in this area as you come across the bridge, stairs that will go up to meet that sidewalk. So they
Are
can
we
go
still looking
around.
at the water feature down there?
I'm working on a water feature.
Okay.
And what I'm envisioning at this point, cleaning up the creek. You got a lot of trash trees in here, maybe coming back in with some other willows like I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to put in there. I have to look at the inventory again. But when the sidewalk comes up, I kind of envision the sidewalk coming up, going across the bridge. We can do some overlay of brick on the bridge, maybe a bench, a concrete bench with the brick on it right in the middle of the bridge. It's wide enough. You don't want vehicles going through that anyway.
Right.
And then as you come up the sidewalk headed toward Haltom Road at the intersection there of UP, maybe a circular sidewalk goes around it with a fountain in the middle of it. So again, I'm trying to incorporate some things that don't take away the visual aspects
Right.
of people that are driving through there.
Right.
Because it's going to be difficult for us to maintain water in that creek or ditch as I keep being reminded it is, but
It's not a ditch, it's a water feature.
it's a water feature. Thank you very much, Mr. Cabano. It is a water feature.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Barnett? Thank you, Chuck, for that update on the library. I have been remiss in not introducing our new city secretary, Art Camacho. Can we get a camera right next door to me?
Turn the
lights
on.
Yeah, there he is. There's Art. Just wanted to introduce our new city secretary, Art Camacho. This is his first city council meeting, and welcome to Haltom City, Art. Glad to have you. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is considered to be self-explanatory and will be enacted by the council with one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. Approval of the consent agenda authorizes the city manager to implement each item in accordance with staff or board recommendations. The consent agenda tonight consists of items 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now take a motion to dispose. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented, items 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Ms. Branson.
I will second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Next on the regular agenda, we have item 7, flooding and erosion issues. Tom, we got any updates there?
As I'm sure everybody in the council and certainly the media was interested in the rains we had last Tuesday. They were just waiting for something to fall down into a creek or for a mobile home to be floating downstream, neither of which happened. And Skyline had quite a bit of media out there expecting something to happen. Obviously, it didn't because the homes were not reestablished down there into the floodway or the floodplain. In reviewing it, we probably would have been evacuating some of those homeowners, but we don't think it certainly wasn't a flood event like what happened back last June, or even the one we had in March of last year. But it did flood down there. But we did keep an eye on Big Fossil Creek, and nothing happened outside of the water coming up and moving pretty quick, which is normal up there. But nothing much else happened. In regards to the erosion control project, You heard me last council meeting explaining where we were at with that, and I don't have much of an update other than that we did do a pre-bid conference last week, had 8 bidders show up at it, and that's a lot of insightful questions to it, and we've issued an addendum to the bid. The bid opening is Wednesday, and if we get 8 bids, I doubt we'll get 8 bids, but we will probably get 3 or 4. And we'll be checking everybody out and come back to the council on the 14th with a bid recommendation. And also in that time, I'll probably be meeting with the property owners up there to update them on what's going on with that as a result of the bid opening. Also at the last council meeting, I think I told y'all that I was having some difficulty with the making contact with the final property owner, which is a vacant lot. And I have finally talked with an owner's rep last week. He is not interested in participating in the project, but he is not interested in slowing up the project. So he's really wanting to sell that thing fairly quickly. So I've put him in touch with a couple of folks that I knew were interested in buying that. So they're trying to pull something together here pretty quick. Otherwise, he's going to be asked to participate, and I'll be having that conversation with him later in the week to see how that goes. So there has been some progress with it, and so I'm hopeful we won't be delayed with that. Other than that, I really don't have much else to report regarding that project. Probably after the 14th, after we do the bid award, I'll probably ask Mr. Fain to include this project on the CIP, so I probably won't be giving an update on that thing in this format. We'll just probably slide it in there to the CIP report, and you'll get your updates that way. Other than that, I'll take any questions, any comments, any concerns regarding the flooding and erosion issues that we've experienced these last.
Mr. Cabano?
Just to let the public know, if they go to CIP, it goes to the CIP report, that's going to be on a quarterly basis, right?
Actually, I thought it was a bi-monthly basis.
Do we do bi-monthly now?
I think
changes
it's every
every
2 months.
every 2
I think
months?
it's every 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just so they don't expect,
Well, and we'll
a council meeting every-
we'll deal with that. I mean,
Okay.
if it's once the contract's let,
right.
I'm not, that's going to, with the 90-day construction time, you're probably going to have 1 CIP report in that time.
That's it.
Maybe
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
at best. And that's normally what we would do with these projects. This is a special project. The specialness of it is going to, I think it's worn out once we've awarded the contract.
And
I don't know
right.
when that's going to end at some point.
Right, I just want to make sure that somebody doesn't expect 1 week they hear it and, for another 2 meetings, they don't hear anything, and they're thinking we've dropped the ball.
Well,
In effect,
and-
we're just changing the format of presentation.
Correct.
That's all we're doing.
And I'll probably be reminding them of that
Okay.
as those things come up.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Next up is the item 8. This is a public hearing. Resolution number R2008-007-01, consideration and interaction regarding the approval of declaring unopposed candidates elected to office in the May 10th, 2008 general city election and canceling the election. I guess that about says it all, does it?
I'm not sure what else we can add to it. This is an option the council has. You don't have to do this. If you want to go ahead and see your names on the ballot and go ahead and do the election,
How much would that cost us for that exercise?
We estimated that we're saving about $5,000.
Saving about $5
We're
million.
saving about $5,000 by canceling the election.
All right.
Right. And I don't know if Mr. Camacho has anything else he wants to add. I kind of stole his thunder there a little bit, but turn on.
We waited for all the appropriate times for any person to respond, and all deadlines passed, and they were all clear.
All right, then, any questions up on the dais before I open up the public hearing? Not, I'll open up the public hearing. Mr. Watkins, would you introduce yourself?
For way less than $5,000, I'll print y'all's names on some ballots and distribute them.
For way less, huh?
Way less than $5,000, probably way less than $500.
Okay. So we're trying to find out what the value of an ego is here, huh? All right. Any other public comments? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to dispose. Ms. Branson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we approve Resolution R2008-00701, authorizing the City Council to declare the candidates elected to office and canceling the May 10th, 2008 general election.
Mr. Sutton.
Ask for a second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution R2008-007-01, canceling the general city election on May 10. Any further discussion? Please register your vote. That is unanimously approved.
Well, it's too late now. You've already voted.
Yep.
So it's a moot point now.
Next up is the Visitor Citizens Forum, this time set aside for any person having business for the council that is not scheduled on the agenda to speak to the council. All comments must be directed toward the presiding officer rather than individual council member or staff. Each speaker must limit his or her comments to the subject matter listed on the speaker's request form and must refrain from personal attacks toward any individual. Council cannot discuss or debate any issue brought forth at this time, nor can any formal action be taken, as it is not a posted agenda item in accordance with the Open Meetings Law. Anyone want to speak in the Visitor Citizen Forum? Mr. Watkins, please identify yourself.
Yeah, I forgot to do that a while ago. Bob Watkins, 6140 Blue Spruce Circle. Is that all right? Jimbo doesn't know where I live.
We're glad you found out where you live.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Needless to say, I was able to hear everybody but Mr. Welch, but he spoke loud enough for me to hear. I think this is a lot better. It's kind of in the middle of being over there and being over here. The person I have the most trouble understanding is Mr. Muir, and I'm sitting straight in front of him, and I can hear what he's saying. I think this is good. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else want to speak at the Visitor Citizen Forum? Seeing none, I will close the forum and move on to the next agenda item, item 9, resignation of board members. If we have any resignations. Mr. Cabano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for a resignation for the Fire Services Board. Ronald Porter has submitted his resignation, and he had listed on there. I just wanted to tell that he's enjoyed serving with the board and will continue to assist the board and fire department any way he can.
How many thousand years did he serve on that board?
Quite a few.
Yeah, that was a long time. All right. Let's have a vote. Mr. Hutchinson?
Is this, Mr. Cabano, is this for immediately, or is this as of 30 days from now? What time?
I'm sorry, it's effective as of March 18th. He was wanting to get it
March
immediately.
18th. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Then we'll have a vote to confirm. Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. And once again, I want to thank Mr. Porter for his long tenured service, both as a fireman and as a member of our Citizen Fire Services Board. Any other resignations? We'll move on to item 10, appointments or reappointments. Do we have any new appointments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the excused absences. Item 11, attendance requirements. Everybody's here, so there's nothing to do there. That leaves us with only one bit of duty, and that is to deliberate under the executive session under sections 551-071 and 072. We will retire into executive session. Let's meet in there at 8 o'clock sharp. Thank you. And we're back in regular session. We have no action to take as a result of the executive session, so this meeting is adjourned.